getting off plays quicker from the line of scrimmage, is that an emphasis this year?
Absolutely. It's not just getting off plays, but it's about getting off plays efficiently. You know, are we lined up? Can we stay on sides? You know, can we get the snap? You know, man, and be able to have a functional play. That's part of how we have to be able to, you know, tempo ourselves, you know, change tempos when we need to, and at the end of the day, learn how to execute better in stressful situations. So this is just, it's all, you know, creating muscle memory and trying to become a better, you know, offensive football team and getting our defense ready to line up and play football in this conference, because you see a lot of it.
Coach, NFL draft right around the corner. Can you make me a sales pitch on Juwan Williams and what makes him special as a player entering the draft?
Yeah, you know, I mean, Juwan is a once-in-a-decade player, you know, for a defensive coach. When you look at, you know, those types of players, man, that have length, athleticism, you know, I coached one. I coached one in the prior decade when I got to Stanford in 2010. Had a chance to work with Richard Sherman, and now I'm working, you know, with Juwan Williams. And I can say, man, they both have the same hunger. They both have the same, you know, propensity to play the game. But the biggest thing about Juwan is that, and like for him, man, he stayed home. Could have went to Alabama, could have went to LSU, and decided to stay home. And you know, when I looked at his play count last year, he played 916 snaps. And I look at his career totals, man, that dude's played, you know, maybe close to 2,700 snaps. Look like in his career here at Vanderbilt University. That's a lot of football. So when you start talking about guys, you know, who have played football, guys that are ready in 3 years, and we're talking about a guy that didn't play high school football, so his ceiling is extremely high. He hasn't tapped it out, and he's only getting better. You know, I mean, I've had more scouts and coaches say to me, man, this dude has a chance to be a special guy. And I believe him because I've seen those guys. So Juwan Williams is going to be a first-day take, in my opinion, just based on the simple fact that he's fast enough, he's long enough, but he's competitive enough. And if you go back and look at his SEC resume, he's been able to do it as good as anybody.
Are there any names that have stepped out for you in terms of your defense right now that maybe you didn't expect at the beginning of spring?
You know, I'll talk about, you know, Dio. You know, I think he's played lights out. Drew Birchmeyer getting better. He's finally starting to show, you know, what he is. College football is a junior-senior sport, and I continue to say it, but we have to be better up front. It's a line of scrimmage game, and that's where I think we have to make our biggest headway. I'm really impressed by the consistency of the defensive line. Even though we got some young guys there, we're more athletic, we're strong. We're starting to see, you know, like some of that show up for us. And I'd really have to say, you know, what I'm seeing from Dante Carrier-Williams, you know, outside, you know, in terms of what he's doing. Elijah Hamilton's a little more consistent. And those inside backers continue to get better. I'm starting to see better pad level, better strike, and the ability to find the football. And that's what you got to be able to do in this conference in order to play good football.
He's been talking a lot about you, Pink, Keyshawn being the big three this year. What are your thoughts on kind of carrying that load?
I feel like it's a blessing and a curse because it's something that we've earned, I think, through our play. But I think it's also I'm not one to like nicknames and stuff like that. The big three sounds kind of like, I don't know, but it's cool. I think for the most part, it's a blessing to be looked at in that way. And I guess the expectation is there for us to continue doing what we're doing and then get better. And then hopefully that cluster will spark a fire that we can ride throughout the season and carry us to some wins.
You heard me ask Coach about your improvement. What are you looking to improve on going into this season?
I think game-wise, I really just need to, the small things. It's really, at this point, going into my senior year, with the football player I am is the football player I am. I'm not gonna change too much more, but I think just details route, small breaks, running through certain catches and stuff like that. But it's more of a mental thing, and for me at this point, just recognizing defenses and my recognition becoming faster, my awareness being better, and just knowing where I need to be at all times, and so that I can ultimately increase my stock on the next level. So.
You are the go-to guy in that receiving core. Have you talked to the young guys about, look, you got to get open? I'm going to be double teamed sometimes. This is your chance to make some plays as well.
We've had brief conversations, but I think more than that, I think we all kind of know who we are and where we are at this point. I think like as people know, we got some younger guys that can play, some freshmen going into sophomores, and then some guys that are going to be juniors next year. I think we got a lot of guys that can roll. It's just about finding the right pieces and putting us in the right spots so that we can complement each other and ultimately get to where we want to go.
Last question, you're working with Deuce and Riley. What are you seeing out of those guys this spring?
Good. We're still developing thus far. I think it's important that, you know, we continue to build a rapport, not just between myself, but between the whole receiving core and those quarterbacks, and ultimately whoever steps onto the field, you know, snap one, day one, you know, depth charts change, but I think it's a good competition, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it pans out.
You know, and just really excited about his progress so far, you know, and whenever you have a young guy that's earned his way into a starting job and then he gets back and gets hurt, you know, that's hard for him, you know, and you know, we went next man up, and C.J. Bowler was that guy that was able to step up and made some plays, and now having Cam back is really nice because, you know, as you go the last 8 games of the season without him, you know, it's not that you get used to it, but you move on, and so it was kind of a bright, refreshing deal that first day of practice, and you're like, yeah, you know, here he is, he's back, there's a reason he was starting, so fired up for him, and he's just got to continue to work and get back in the groove of things right now.
What are you looking for those younger guys, the ones that CJ and those other guys that played last year? What do you want to see out of this second year?
Well, the big thing is taking a huge step, and there's a lot of things that go on your freshman year that you're just trying to get through, right? Get through the pain, get through the soreness, get through some of the mental gymnastics of a big time season, right? And then all of a sudden you look in your second year and it's details, right? Are my splits perfect? Are my route depths perfect? Right? How am I catching the football? And that's where those guys can continue to grow and mature. And the older guys like Kalija and Donovan Tennyson, Chris Pierce, the guys that have been here, right? They're all taking certain steps, but that freshman to sophomore year step is huge. And those guys are Amir, Cam, and CJ got to have a great offseason and a great spring ball, kind of moving into that next step of their career.
Speaking of Kalija, where can he get better?
I think the big thing is just details and understanding where things got to be all the time, right? Understanding all the positions, understanding, right, day to day the work that needs to be put in, right? He had a chance to leave last year, right? And he decided to come back. So we're back, let's work, right? Let's get perfection, right? And understanding the ins and outs of this offense. So next year, this time, right, when you're talking to teams and you're talking to those different people around the NFL, right? It's boom, boom, boom. You understand it just like a quarterback does.